Jeff Van Gundy with us this morning on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. You got to see Ime Udoka up close in the NBA Finals last year. Tell us about what did you see in him?
Well, when I was coaching Houston, he came through for one of those workout type things. So I sort of knew him as a player. Then I worked with him at USA Basketball, both in the World Cup and the Olympics. And then, obviously following him when we broadcast. And he is a tremendous coach. And he's got a great mind. He is a bit more reserved. And I think that allows him to analyze situations and people very well. He's very good with people of, coaches, players, administrators. And so I think he's like the entire package. I think, they interviewed some great candidates with the Rockets. They chose Ime, and Ime, you can't do better than him. He's just a terrific guy. I like him personally very, very much, and I think everybody recognizes that he is a special coach.
Coach, we know that in watching you, John mentioned that this is the first kind of hard-nosed coach the Rockets have maybe had since you were coaching here. He's going to stress defense. Stress and accountability is essential. Obviously, one of the things that Kelvin Sampson said, Dennis Lindsay, I'd mentioned this to Dennis that Kelvin said it. He said Sampson is 100,000% correct in this. He said the key to changing a culture and to getting on the right track is not being afraid of confrontation. You have to embrace confrontation if you want to get to where you need to go. Do you agree, or what are your thoughts on that? And B, do you think Udoka has enough of that in him because I think that's a big issue with the Rockets right now.
So Bill Parcells put it very similarly to Kelvin. Confrontation clears the air. When you say confrontation, the first reaction by most people is that that's a negative. That means, this is going to be a negative interaction. But all it is whatever, from a play or an attitude or a punctuality, professionalism issue, all you're doing is confronting something that you believe as a coach is getting in the way of winning and giving that player his best chance to succeed and your team the best chance to succeed. And the problem with accountability is a lot of players believe in it for others. Like, go hold those guys accountable, leave me alone. Mm-hmm. And so it's imperative that your best players want that structure, want that discipline, want those moments of accountability and confrontation so that it improves them. And thus, if you can do that with your best players, everyone else falls in line. I absolutely think Ime, you remember back to last year, to that season, they were 500 in January. And so he had to adjust, adapt, confront, and then they went from being because of injuries and some other situations, a very average team to becoming the best team in basketball all the way up till the finals when they weren't able to complete the task against Golden State. But he definitely has a fiery but controlled side, and I have no doubts that he's going to put the Rockets players in their best possible position to win. But to do that, they have to be open and voluntarily cooperate with what he sees as the reasons they haven't been as successful as they have hoped.
Well, they've been so young, Coach. Jeff Van Gundy with us this morning on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. So young. Now they've got some money to spend. How much of that locker room and that culture is created by the coach, and how much by veteran players that make the other guys accountable too?
Yeah, I'm not sure veteran players in and of itself, like older guys. Some guys are very jaded. Some veterans, you don't want them anywhere near your guys, right, that are impressionable. So it's like anything else. It's the right young guys. It's the right mid-tier veterans. It's the right older veterans. And I don't see that any huge player of, like, no star is necessarily coming to the rescue, but what I think they can really do is add, like, the right pieces that not only can help them play better on the floor with those qualities, but lift the young players up to a certain work habits, coachability, team first mindset. All of that is just as important. You know, Green and Porter, Sengun, all the young players that they've had, all they've done in the NBA is lose. And so they've got to determine, the Rockets, management, ownership, and Ime, they've got to determine who they believe have gone through all this losing but still are winning type players. And then the guys that they don't think are winning type players, they've got to move along. And to me, that's where doesn't even have to be an older guy, but like a 28 to 32-year-old that's shown that he's able to fit in and contribute, but also set the right example. Those are the type of free agents I think they're more likely to sign than some home run. Maybe, I've heard James Harden comes back in the return. I don't see that as, a big possibility. So I think they have to keep incrementally building towards where they want to go.
Jeff Van Gundy here with us on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Quickly before, and we love having you on here. We want to take up all your time here this morning. Who's most impressed you this playoff so far in these young playoffs so far?
Well, I think I love the Sacramento Golden State series. That's been incredibly enjoyable. It's just sad that Houston's own De'Aaron Fox is hurt right now, and hopefully he can play with that finger injury in Game 5, because that's been an absolutely thrilling series so far. I've enjoyed both of those teams very, very much. I think Memphis has been the team that's disappointed me, not because of their play, but I think they're getting in their own way.
Yeah.
That's what I want to ask you about. Dillon Brooks, it's one thing to embrace, and then Dillon Brooks has clearly embraced this villain role, and then he blamed the media and the fans for creating the villain role, that he didn't do that. But, clearly he revels in that. But, there's just something about poking a player like LeBron James at this stage of the playoffs. It's just so counterproductive.
Well, I think it distracts from winning. Whenever you do something, and listen, LeBron James might have come out and they probably would have played a great Game 3. So I'm not saying that LeBron James, we always want to have these narratives. LeBron James was inspired by Dillon Brooks' words. Maybe, maybe not. I think LeBron James may be above that. But what I do think it does is it takes Dillon Brooks' focus away from just playing good, solid, winning basketball. I don't understand going at the other team with words. Just play the game. Go at each other hard on the court, but being disrespectful of arguably one of the top 3 players to ever play the game, I just see as counterproductive. I see it as getting in your way and creating narratives that takes away from the team versus adding to the team. And then also, if you're Dillon Brooks, you got to play better, a lot better.
Are you worried at all about your Astros so far?
Sure. Absolutely. My mom and dad are living in the Orlando area, and they're huge Tampa Bay Rays fans. And my mom, wants to fire the manager after every loss. So it's she's no different. She wants to blame coaches all the time too. It's crazy, right? So I'm worried about our pitching. I'm worried about Do we have enough? Have we taken too much away from the talent base and not added enough to? So certainly I'm a little concerned, but particularly because of how good Tampa Bay is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But you know what? We start this way. Astros start this way every year, Coach. And you know what? They get through. Now, you don't have Verlander anymore, Correa, Springer, Morton. There's a lot of guys that are gone now.
Morton's been gone a while.
Yeah, but
you have these talent drains, and because management has always done such a great job with the Astros in replacing it, you always think, you're going to come out of it. And, sometimes you do, and sometimes you lose guys that, it's just too hard to replace them. And so, man, Verlander leaving was crushing to me. I loved watching him compete. So him and Clemens, to me, have been my two favorite guys to watch compete.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Jeff Van Gundy with us here this morning on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Coach, great talking to you. We appreciate it. Thanks for taking time during the playoffs. We know you're busy, so we really appreciate that.
Thanks, Coach.
You got it, guys. Take care.
All right, there's Jeff Van Gundy with us here on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Best in the business, best analyst in the business today.